now turning to the second part of the petition, the second debate that we're taking part on the Hong Kong BNOs. The moral case is overwhelming. We must remember why this scheme exists. It was created in response to Beijing's...
英國政府喺今年5月公布移民白皮書，計劃收緊移民政策，包括將申請永久居留權嘅門檻由居住5年增至10年，即係5+1變10+1，以及提高移民嘅英語能力要求。不過，政府一直冇明確回應新政策係咪會適用於來自香港嘅 BNO 簽證持有人，已入境人士又會否受影響？呢份白皮書引起廣泛公眾討論，有人發起聯署，要求維持香港 BNO 簽證永居要求不變，得到超過10萬個聯署支持。另一個聯署要求豁免已入境英國嘅技術勞工簽證持有人不受新移民政策影響，就有超過16萬人支持。下議院星期一就呢兩個聯署展開辯論，3小時嘅會議有超過30位議員發言，大部分表態支持兩個聯署，反對政府搬龍門，亦特別希望內政部喺辯論中釐清新移民政策會否影響已移民英國嘅香港人。新任內政部負責邊境安全與庇護事務嘅次官 Alex Norris 表示，明白移民白皮書提出嘅改革對議員同埋佢哋嘅選區居民極為重要，亦聽到議員嘅聲音，但佢強調改革細節仍然有待諮詢，並冇就兩個聯署嘅要求作出回應。首先發言嘅國會議員大多來自香港人聚居嘅選區。佢哋表示，唔少在英港人都係高學歷或者專業人士，例如業主、教師、醫生等，而且落力為當地社區服務，為英國帶嚟貢獻。如果政府將申請永居要求由居住5年增加到10年，現實上將會對在英港人所繳付嘅醫療保險、大學學費、申請攞返強積金等有負面影響，令移英港人失預算，做法並唔公平。
This is about trust as much as law, about keeping our promises and about keeping the faith of the people who place their futures in our hands. The BNO visa route was created as a humanitarian lifeline in response to Beijing's horrific national security law. The route is grounded in our legal, moral and historic responsibilities under the Sino-British Joint Declaration. It is not an economic channel, but a bespoke, safe and legal route for British nationals and their relatives who are fleeing repression in a former British territory where rule of law and human rights have been ruthlessly eroded.
Those arriving from Hong Kong are no longer just headlines or statistics. They are our neighbours. They are parents at the school gate, new business owners on our high streets, and young people starting out in education and work. Fairness and the rule of law cut both ways. Families played by the rules, paid the fees, and came here legally. They have every right to expect that the path to settlement and citizenship remains exactly as set out. In Warrington, I see every day how Hong Kongers contribute to our economy, our schools and our community life. They came because they believe in the same values we do: fairness, freedom, dignity and democracy.
有唔少議員話，好多香港人已經將英國視為佢哋嘅屋企，英國應該要支持在英港人擁抱多元文化。
Many again have made the UK their home, not through an easy choice to make, but due to life-changing decisions and circumstances. And we're hoping that after 5 years of residence, meeting the quite strenuous requirements around English requirements, around the life in the UK test, they would have the chance to apply for indefinite leave to remain and 1 year later of citizenship. I think at this time particularly we must stand together, we must celebrate our diversity and encourage people to reflect on the importance of difference to a successful and sustainable economy, society and country. And I hope as we reform our migration system, we won't forget this. We'll design reforms that work for our country, but also work for those who call our country home.
Their diversity is at the heart of Milton Keynes, and we're a proud city that shows how people from many backgrounds can come together to enrich and strengthen our community. And we've seen firsthand in our city how the many people who have come to our city from Hong Kong have added to our local economy.
亦有議員趁機會喺議事廳反映移英港人面對嘅生活困難。
The Hong Kong community is making a remarkable contribution to Britain, and they're highly skilled. Almost 6 in 10 hold a degree or postgraduate qualification, compared to a third of the UK population. Yet despite this, only about half are currently in work, compared to 3/4 of the UK as a whole. That gap reflects the barriers people still face, barriers we should be helping to dismantle.
And it's also true that a huge number of Hong Kongers in the UK are working far below their qualification or training level, or potentially are unemployed entirely. There are accountants, journalists, engineers, for example, working in roles that don't necessarily match the skills they have. And we've heard that there are some practical steps that the government could take to alleviate some of these problems, which is in our interest. But extending the ILR route for Hong Kongers back to 10 years, delaying further their access to further education, training, citizenship, government support and integration into UK society will obviously make this problem worse.
多位議員表示，英國政府應該保持一個穩定嘅系統，並且確保移民白皮書堅持穩定以及公平嘅原則，以彰顯英國奉行嘅價值以及精神。如果將入籍年限延長，英國政府就會背叛香港人，並提醒政府應該保有道德以及信守承諾。
I want to focus my remarks particularly on those who have BNO visas, and I want to particularly focus on the importance of stability in that system. I first became particularly interested in the lives of people living in Hong Kong because of my constituent Jimmy Lai, who is currently interred in Hong Kong because of him standing up for freedom and democracy, and this has brought me to be profoundly concerned about the importance of the BNO visas.
I've a significant Hong Kong population in my constituency of Solihull Western Shirley. There's about 4,500 across the borough. And does he agree with me they had a legitimate expectation that the rules of the game wouldn't be changed partway through, and to do so would damage the social contract we as a state have had with these people?
而唔少議員亦都批評，隨住見證跨境鎮壓發生喺英國，例如中國超級大使館計劃，如果將 BNO 簽證延長到10年，將會比中國成功達到目的，對香港人冇保障。佢哋強調，呢啲嚟到英國嘅香港人抱持堅信英國嘅心態，拋低一切嚟到呢度展開新生活。因此，英國政府要講到做到，成為一個值得信賴嘅國家。
The BNO visa is not a transactional visa, it is a moral commitment which the UK offered in response to the national security law and the dismantling of promised freedoms in Hong Kong. So I am deeply concerned about the government's decision to extend the route to indefinite leave to remain from 5 years to 10 years. In particular, that this lack of clarity over the BNO visa in the midst of increasing evidence of transnational repression from China and the looming planning decision on the Chinese mega embassy, it's concerning to me and to many of my constituents who could be affected by this change.
That is a safe and legal route rooted in our history and reputation as a global leader in human rights and democracy. And when Beijing ripped up its promises to Hong Kong, this country stepped up. We told Hong Kong families, if you come here legally, play your part, integrate into your community and contribute for 5 years, you can make Britain your permanent home. That seems like a fair deal to me.
Hong Kong's democracy's been replaced by a dictatorship, and its free press has been crushed. This is the context that has left many Hong Kongers feeling that they have little choice but to leave, to seek freedom and a new life here in the UK.
I'm very glad to have welcomed these Hong Kongers fleeing oppression, violence and injustice to my constituency. Sadly, the government in Beijing is not content with having forced these people from their homes. It still wishes to terrorise them here in the United Kingdom, something we cannot allow to happen if people we have promised safety and security to in our country want to feel comfortable here. I believe it's very important that we remember these points as we consider any alterations to visa regulations in the coming month.
I agree entirely that Britain is a country that keeps its word, and we should continue to keep our word to the Hong Kongers who've come here, and echo the comment that's been made by many others that it will be a huge propaganda victory for the Chinese government if they're able to say that we are undermining that commitment.